What's up, everybody? It is Izzy. Sorry for not getting out the next installment of the top 10 exercises for hypertrophy yesterday. I'm trying to finish a mini ebook on how I do full body training, both how I coach it and how I personally run it. Because once I get surgery on Tuesday, I cannot use my right arm to type for a month. And my left arm is my non-dominant hand, so writing any kind of content once that happens is going to be hard to do. That said, today is going to be Q&A 84. I look forward to seeing what your questions are. As always, if you like the Q&A, please consider becoming a supporter on Patreon. If you want to work with me directly, just shoot me an email. You can DM me on Instagram. Links to my current ebooks are going to be in my bio or in the description box on Instagram. And like I said, I'm hoping to have that mini ebook on the full body split and how I run it, high intensity, low volume style, how to adjust when you stall, etc. within the week, because I have no choice. Would it be a good idea for a powerlifter to do most of their squats paused? No. Specificity. It would be a good idea for a powerlifter to do most of their squats with competition form, because you get good at the things that you actually do. You become trained at the things that you actually train. And you don't compete in the pause squat, you compete in the regular squat. So many of you want to reinvent the wheel when the existing methods for powerlifting and bodybuilding already work. Powerlifters have established working methods for 50 or 60 years now. You don't need to try to mix bodybuilding concepts in there to make it better, because it'll make it worse. My creatinine and serum urea levels came back high on blood work. I asked an MD and they told me to stop eating protein bars. So you asked this question to Trevor the other day and he already gave you the correct answer, which is that if you train hard with weights and you get blood work, within 3 to 5 days of that hard training, your liver values are going to be elevated, protein turnover values are going to be elevated, because that's a result of hard training. You're not in an unhealthy state or even in an unhealthy range. In order for that blood work to be accurate, you need 3 to 5 days off of training first. Is the reason that enhanced bulks are shorter / more aggressive because you can't sustain PEDs for 10 plus months straight like natural bulks can last? The main reason, man, is that most enhanced people actually compete. So you can't bulk for 10 months straight because now you don't have time to get in shape if you're competing at least once a year. Now, granted, you could compete once every 2 years, but that's really not frequent enough to be good at competing, to master the posing, to master the presentation, to master the whole kit and caboodle of actually competing in front of judges. So it usually is in people's best interest to compete a little more often than that. But you easily could bulk for 10 straight months as an enhanced lifter. You just need to take a break at maintenance in between cycles of PEDs. What should you do if you max out the stack on a machine and use a GymPin, but there's no room between the plates and the floor? Bro, this is so easy to fix. Use the actual pin that comes with the machine to put at the bottom of the stack. Now take your GymPin and put it about halfway up the stack, and now load plates onto it so that there's room between the GymPin, the plates, and the floor. So don't use the GymPin as the pin for the machine. Pin the machine with the machine pin and then use the GymPin about halfway up the stack. Very easy. What should a client do to get the most out of their coach? You have to actually adhere to the plan. That is the number one most important thing. If you're not actually doing what they tell you, they can't make any adjustments, because what you're doing is random anyway. So they're making a random adjustment and nothing's actually going to happen. Now, honest and open communication is the second key, because if you're having trouble adhering to something for lifestyle reasons, you need to be honest about that with your coach and say, hey, I can't do this. The workouts are lasting too long. I need higher calories on the weekend so I can be social. You need to tell them what's causing your adherence to fail so that they can make adjustments. Now, maybe it won't be optimal compared to a competitor, but if it's sustainable for your lifestyle, that's part of the coach's job, to make adherence easier for your lifestyle. So adhere and communicate. Big keys. I am not a habitual caffeine user. How much should I use to get a boost at my meet? So the studies done on caffeine that result in increased force production and power output use between 3 to 6 milligrams per kilo of body weight. Because you are not caffeine tolerant, I think you can err towards the lower end of that range and do 3 milligrams per kilo of body weight. And that's going to go a long way towards not having your sleep get completely jacked up as well. Take it from me, I accidentally took over a gram of caffeine at a meet once. because I misread the label, essentially. It was one of those things where it gave you like the ingredients per half scoop, but they put a full scooper in there. Super annoying. And I had to call poison control because I was curled up in the fetal position trying to vomit, but with nothing left to throw up. So if you'd like to avoid that situation, 3 milligrams per kilo ought to get the job done, man. A trainer stopped me mid-set to make me not lock out my leg press. What would you have done? Honestly, man, people don't railroad me. Like, I'm not that easy to just roll over like that. I would have just been like, no, I'm doing it my way. And if that could have created a super awkward situation, and if they would have like tried to go over my head and talk to the gym owner, then it would have been a whole situation that I would have had to figure out. But if you're not that kind of person, you can always just say, oh, thanks for the advice, and then keep doing it the way that you were doing it before. But I would never just let somebody railroad me and go straight over the top of me and force me to do something in the middle of my set, man. Are you kidding? My training is way too important to me. You don't have to take that kind of thing from anybody just because they're a trainer or anyone else. Should 10,000 steps a day not be counted towards cardio? No, because it's not cardio. It's just general activity. It does not provide the same cardiac adaptations as doing like zone 2 or zone 3 cardio. I use the Carbonin method, which my heart rate during cardio is between 140 and 150 beats per minute. That would never, ever occur at a normal walking tempo. Ever. So no, it does not count as cardio. You may not need cardio on top of a high step count, depending on what your goals are. But for an enhanced bodybuilder, it's highly recommended for health purposes. What do you put in your gym bag? Dude, I have so much in my gym bag. There's no way I'm going to remember all of it. I'll try. I have at least 2 or 3 different gym pins, including an external extender. Let's see. I have a yoga block. I have the Godfather of bodybuilding pad. I have 2 angles 90 handles. I have micro load plates. So I have a quarter pound plate, half pound plate, 3/4 pound plate, 1 pound plate, and 2.5 pound plates in my gym bag. What else? I have cable cuffs, like you see me using in this particular exercise. I have my knee sleeves and my elbow sleeves, and probably a few other trinkets, to be honest with you. What is the validity of having an extra bro day for arms and shoulders on upper lower? Let's be real honest with each other here. You can do whatever you want because the vast majority of you are just training for fun. It's like a video game. There's no right or wrong way to play a video game when you're playing the video game to have fun. Whatever makes you have fun in that video game is the right way to play the video game. It's only once we start saying, I want to compete at this video game, or I want to finish this video game as fast as possible, or some other outside objective criteria is introduced, that there becomes a right way and a wrong way to do things. And if you care about progressing optimally, most of you should not have a fucking bro day. Most people claim to care about doing optimal training, but they really don't. Okay, what they care about is sexy training, fun training, doing the trendy thing that they've seen on Instagram, trying the one-handed row where you pull it down to your hip, or the cross-body pull down with a super duper stretch on the lat. Most people have not ever in their lives done, let's say, a 3x5 program where you go in and add 1 pound per session 3 times a week for a full year while in a surplus, while getting 8 hours of sleep a night. They haven't done that. And that's the most basic, most successful program that you can run. And if most people actually did that without quitting, without getting bored, they would put on 20 pounds of muscle in a year. But that's not really what they want. So bro day. Most people aren't ready to hear the truth about optimal training, man. The truth is that it's so fucking hard that most people will just quit instead of actually doing it. And I'm going to use starting strength as an example. To this day, some of the hardest training I've ever done has been the starting strength 3x5 squat protocol. You know, very quickly, it's okay at first, but very quickly, every set becomes RPE 9.5 to RPE 10 for 3 sets of 5. You have to lay on the floor for 5 to 10 minutes, catching your breath, regaining the neural drive to go in and do it again. And you do it 3 times per workout, 3 workouts per week. Eventually, you make an optimal intervention where the second squat workout in the week becomes a quote-unquote light workout. And this just allows you to keep destroying yourself on the other 2 workouts per week rather than giving up the program altogether. And that's what true optimal is about. It's about making SFR adjustments and programming adjustments so you can keep destroying yourself. True optimal lets you ride that line of self-destruction as often as possible without actually crossing over it and getting hurt or burned out. That's why you have so many people that want to do a bro day, or they want to add functional training at the end of their workouts, or they want to add this and want to add that. It's because they're not training that hard. They don't even know what that means. They think it means making faces and loud noises while you train. True optimal training is about letting you do as much work as possible, as often as possible, without crossing the line. People think it's about picking an exercise that gives you 0.07% more gains per set. It's not, man. It's about picking things and structures that allow you to beat the living hell out of your body as often as you can, and yet, still recover in time for the next session to set the next set of PRs. You absolutely smash yourself and then do just enough recovery that you're able to come back and do it again and again and again and again. That's optimal. Is it okay to just log my workouts in iPhone notes? I mean, are you asking my permission or something? Man, this is going to be awkward. I do not give you my permission to do that. I mean, man, I log all my workouts in iPhone notes. What else do you need? Like, you don't need a fancy spreadsheet. You don't need to track your, tonnage in bodybuilding. Really, the only thing that matters is number of hard sets and whether or not you're, progressing. And then a couple of, qualitative notes, like, did this give me a good pump? Did this hurt my joints, etc.? There is no other information you need to keep track of besides that, and that can all be kept track of inside of iPhone notes. Is it okay to warm up for pull-ups and dips with assisted pull-ups and dips? In my experience, that works just fine. Yes, it is somewhat of a different movement pattern, but ultimately it works well enough. You're still warming up the same musculature. So even though it's not necessarily the best from a neural perspective because you're not doing the exact same movement pattern, you're still warming up the relevant joints and the relevant musculature. And as long as you have, maybe 1 or 2 warm-up sets at or above body weight, it doesn't make any difference at all. I lose track of reps when I count tempo. So here's all you have to do. Count the rep on the concentric. So let's say you have 4 count down, 2 count pause. This is what you would do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 2. Alternatively, just don't count your reps and film your sets, and then after the set, review the video to see how many reps you got. You shouldn't need a rep number to do your best anyway. Are the Miami Heat getting another win in this series? Well, I think my original pick before the series started was Denver in 6, so it would sure be convenient for my crystal ball abilities if they do. That said, no, I'm going to go with no. They're not getting another win in this series. Miami has done one of the most remarkable things in really NBA playoff history this season, and that is they went from the dead last in offensive efficiency ranking. So in points scored per possession, Miami was, I believe, dead last in the regular season. And then through the playoffs, they shot up to number 1, the best team in the playoffs. And they primarily did that by hitting threes way above the expected rate. And the only way for Miami to beat teams like Denver and Boston and Milwaukee is to make threes at a rate that is unsustainable for their talent. And I'm going to bet against them doing that, just like the computer models and everyone has betted against them this entire playoff series. And they came up on the winning side, but it's got to end sometime, and it's now. Elevated liver values post-training. Would that be slightly above range? I'm not sure if my liver values are elevated because of training or because I eat like shit. Well, you could just take the advice that I already gave, right? And do the blood test 3 to 5 days after your last training day. And then you'd have some answers on that. But no, eating like shit will more typically affect your triglycerides rather than your liver values. Get your cholesterol checked. My 6'1", 250-pound friend is a fatty. He'd like to lose some weight, but he can't afford very much protein because of financial problems. Should he cut? Should he maintain? What should he do? So personally, I gotta ask, if somebody can't afford groceries, is it really a wise idea for them to be dedicating 5 or even 10 hours a week to the gym? That's 5 or 10 hours a week that they could be picking up another shift and being able to afford groceries. So that's really none of my business, but I doubt your friend is going to want to put in a bunch of effort to maintain his already fat state. So the best thing that he could do is just start a diet and buy as much protein as he can afford for now and lose a little bit of fat, maybe a little bit of muscle too, but going in the right direction. Do you have any recommendations for bathroom scales that read your body fat? No, I don't, man. Well, I do. Here's my recommendation. Don't waste your money. All bathroom scales that give you a body fat reading use bioelectrical impedance analysis, which basically means it shoots a little electrode signal up your feet. It bounces off stuff, and using that value and a regression formula based on your height, weight, and gender, it estimates your body fat. Now, here's the problem with that. The priors that it uses for the regression formula are based on completely normal people that don't lift weights. So it is going to massively overestimate your body fat if you have above average lean body mass. For example, I just got on mine the other day and it told me I was 23% body fat. As you can see from the picture here, I'm not 23% body fat. Alrighty, everybody, that is the end of the Q&A today. So as always, if you enjoy the Q&As, please consider becoming a supporter on Patreon. It is $1 a month. If you'd like to work with me directly, I am still doing half-price coaching. Still got a couple slots left. My ebooks are going to be in the description box on YouTube and in my bio on Instagram. And if you are seeing this on YouTube, please like the video if you like the video. Don't like the video if you didn't like the video. If it's shit, don't like it. You know what I mean? But if you liked it, like it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And everybody, of course, enjoy what little is left of the weekend here as it is Sunday. Until Tuesday, which will be my last training session and surgery. I'm out.